Civilizations have clashed, armies have marched, and blood has been shed in the quest for Holy Lands. These are the tales of the Crusades. The Crusades, a series of religious wars, saw the world's two major religions, Christianity and Islam, locked in a battle for control over sacred sites and regions. These wars were not just about religion, but about power, politics, and the human spirit. From the late 11th to the late 13th century, these brutal conflicts reshaped the medieval world, leaving a profound legacy that echoes to this day. The Crusades are often romanticized in popular culture as heroic quests of faith, but the reality was much more complex, often marred by greed, atrocities, and failed ambitions. In this video, we will delve into the intricate history of the Crusades. We will journey through time, uncovering the hidden stories behind these wars and shedding light on their long-lasting impact. From the political and religious turmoil that sparked the First Crusade, to the pivotal battles and treaties that marked the major Crusades, we will explore the lesser-known Crusades and their unique narratives. We will examine the cultural and economic consequences of these wars and how they influenced societies in Europe and the Middle East. We will see how the Crusades led to the transfer of knowledge and technologies, the rise of trade routes, and the financial burdens on crusading monarchs and nobles. We will also delve into the enduring legacy of the Crusades and how they have shaped Christian-Muslim relations over the centuries. We will reflect on the historical interpretation of the Crusades, considering their role in modern political and religious rhetoric. As we embark on this historical journey, remember, history is a tapestry woven with countless threads, each one as important as the other. It's a complex narrative that requires careful examination and understanding. So, let's begin our exploration of the Crusades and unravel the stories hidden within this remarkable period of history. Before we plunge into the heart of the Crusades, let's set the stage. The late 11th century was a critical period in history, particularly in Europe and the Middle East. This era was marked by significant political, religious, and social changes, which would ultimately pave the way for the First Crusade. In the East, the once dominant Byzantine Empire was losing ground to the Seljuk Turks, a nomadic tribe that had recently converted to Islam. The Seljuks had rapidly expanded their territory, seizing control of key cities, including the much-coveted Jerusalem. Their dominance threatened the Byzantine Empire, leading its emperor Alexios Komnenos to make a passionate appeal to the West for help. Meanwhile, in Western Europe, the Catholic Church was gaining unprecedented power under the leadership of Pope Urban II. The Pope saw the Byzantine Emperor's plea as an opportunity to expand the Church's influence and unify Christendom under one banner. He also sought to provide an outlet for the aggressive tendencies of the European nobility, who were often embroiled in internal conflicts. Now, let's turn our attention to Jerusalem, a city that was, and still is, of profound significance to both Christians and Muslims. For Christians, Jerusalem was the city where Jesus Christ was crucified and resurrected, making it a crucial destination for pilgrimage. For Muslims, it was the third holiest city in Islam, housing Al-Aqsa Mosque, and was believed to be the place where Prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven during the night journey. The concept of pilgrimage was deeply ingrained in both faiths. Christians journeyed to Jerusalem to seek spiritual redemption, while Muslims traveled there as part of their religious duty. However, the rise of the Seljuk Turks and their takeover of Jerusalem threatened the safety of these pilgrimages, particularly for Christians. Pope Urban II seized upon this fear. In a rousing speech at the Council of Clermont in 1095, he called upon the knights of Christendom to take up arms and reclaim the Holy Land from the infidels. This call resonated with the European nobility and commoners alike, leading to an outpouring of support for what would become known as the First Crusade. It was a time of heightened religious fervor and political maneuvering. The Pope's call to arms was not just about reclaiming the Holy Land, it was also about asserting the Church's authority, consolidating power, and redirecting the violence that was tearing apart Europe's social fabric. Thus, the stage was set for an epic clash of faiths, a battle for the Holy Land. The wheels of history were in motion, leading to a series of events that would shape the world in ways that still resonate today. The call to arms was sounded, and the First Crusade began. This was a monumental moment in the 11th century, as Pope Urban II rallied the Christian world to reclaim the Holy Land from Muslim control. The First Crusade, spanning from 1095 to 1099, witnessed a series of battles and sieges that culminated in the capture of Jerusalem by the Crusaders. Key figures emerged during this period, such as Godfrey of Bouillon, a French knight who became one of the leaders of the First Crusade. He would later refuse the title of King of Jerusalem, instead opting for the title of Defender of the Holy Sepulchre. The Second Crusade, occurring between 1147 and 1149, was a response to the fall of the County of Edessa, the first Crusader state to be established and the first to fall. Led by European kings like Louis VII of France and Conrad III of Germany, this crusade, unfortunately, ended in failure, with the Crusaders unable to reclaim the lost territory. Following this, the Third Crusade, often referred to as the King's Crusade, took place from 1189 to 1192. This crusade is particularly noteworthy for the iconic clash between two legendary figures, Richard the Lionheart, King of England, and the Muslim leader Saladin. Despite the battles and sieges, the crusade ended in a stalemate, with a treaty that allowed Christian pilgrims access to the holy sites in Jerusalem, which remained under Muslim control. The Fourth Crusade, from 1200 to 1204, is often seen as a turning point in the Crusade's history. Instead of marching towards Jerusalem, the Crusaders, in a controversial move, ended up sacking the Christian city of Constantinople, causing a deep rift between the Eastern and Western churches. The Fifth Crusade, from 1215 to 1221, saw the Crusaders attempt to take Egypt, believing it to be the key to regain Jerusalem. However, despite initial successes, including the capture of the port city of Damietta, the crusade ended in failure. The Sixth Crusade, from 1228 to 1229, stands out as Frederick II, the Holy Roman Emperor, managed to regain Jerusalem not through battle but through negotiation. He struck a deal with the Ayyubid Sultan Al-Kamil, which led to the peaceful handover of Jerusalem to the Christians. The Seventh and Eighth Crusades, in 1248 and 1270, both led by the French King Louis IX, were largely unsuccessful attempts to conquer Muslim territories, including another failed attempt at capturing Egypt. The Ninth Crusade, from 1271 to 1272, was the last of the major crusades. Led by Edward I of England, it was essentially a continuation of the Eighth Crusade and ended with little to show for it. These crusades, filled with triumph, failure, and everything in between, reshaped the world. From the formation and dissolution of Crusader states to the shifting alliances and power dynamics, the Crusades were far from a straightforward clash of religions. They were complex episodes of human history, teeming with political intrigue, economic ambitions, and deeply ingrained religious sentiments. Each crusade had its pivotal battles, sieges, and treaties. From the Siege of Antioch during the First Crusade, where the Crusaders, against all odds, managed to capture the city, to the Treaty of Jaffa during the Third Crusade, which allowed Christian pilgrims access to Jerusalem, each event played a critical role in shaping the course of the Crusades and, by extension, the world. Indeed, the Crusades were not just about the battles fought or the cities captured. They were also about the people involved, the decisions they made, and the consequences of those decisions. They were about the knights and soldiers who left their homes to fight in a foreign land, the leaders who inspired them, the enemies they faced, and the countless lives affected by their actions. These crusades, filled with triumph, failure, and everything in between, reshaped the world. They marked a significant period in human history, leaving a profound impact that continues to be felt to this day. Beyond the well-known crusades, there are lesser-known tales, equally impactful and tragic. As we delve deeper into the annals of history, we uncover stories that often escape mainstream historical narratives. Let's start with the Northern Crusades, a series of religious campaigns launched in the 12th and 13th centuries. These were not directed at the Middle East, but rather against the pagan Baltic, Finnic, and West Slavic peoples of Northern Europe. The Teutonic Knights, a military religious order akin to the Templars, led these crusades. Their mission was to Christianize these pagan regions, often through violent means. The Northern Crusades resulted in a significant cultural and religious shift in the area, leading to the eventual Christianization of countries like Estonia and Latvia. Moving southwest, we find the Albigensian Crusade in the early 13th century. This was not a battle against Muslims but against fellow Christians, the Cathars, a religious sect in southern France. The Cathars were viewed as heretics by the Catholic Church for their dualist beliefs. The Albigensian Crusade, initiated by Pope Innocent III, was a brutal and bloody affair that resulted in the almost complete eradication of Catharism. It's a stark reminder of the extent of religious intolerance, even within the same faith. However, perhaps the most heartbreaking of all, is the Children's Crusade of 1212. It's a story shrouded in myth, and many historians debate its details. The narrative, as commonly told, is of thousands of children, predominantly from France and Germany, setting out to regain Jerusalem from Muslim control, armed only with their innocence and faith. They believed that the purity of their hearts would succeed where armed might had failed. The grim reality, however, is far from this romanticized vision. Most of these so-called children were likely adolescents, and many were not volunteers but were sold off by impoverished parents. They never reached the Holy Land. Many perished from starvation, disease, or the hardships of the journey. Others were sold into slavery. The Children's Crusade serves as a potent symbol of the fervor the Crusades inspired, and the tragic consequences of misguided zeal. In each of these lesser-known crusades we see the same themes that echo through the larger crusades: the clash of faiths, the manipulation of religious fervor for political ends, and the human tragedies that unfold in their wake. They also remind us that the Crusades were not just a series of wars between Christians and Muslims in the Middle East. They were a wider phenomenon that transformed Europe and the Middle East alike, leaving a lasting impact on their societies, cultures, and religions. These lesser-known crusades revealed the wide-reaching fervor and desperation the Crusades inspired. They serve as a stark reminder of the complexities of history, the dangers of oversimplification, and the importance of understanding the past in all its nuances. The ripples of the Crusades extended far beyond the battlefields. They seeped into the societies and economies of the time, leaving a profound and lasting impact. The Crusades were not just about religion and conquest, they were a catalyst for change, sparking developments in numerous fields and sectors. Let's first turn our attention to the exchange of knowledge and technology. The Crusaders' journeys to the East opened the doors to a wealth of learning. Greek and Arabic works on philosophy, mathematics, medicine, and astronomy, once confined to the Islamic world, found their way into the hands of European scholars. The translations of these texts breathed new life into European intellectual circles, marking the beginning of a remarkable period of learning and discovery known as the Renaissance. Simultaneously, the Crusades led to the transmission of various technological innovations from the East to the West. These included advancements in military technology, such as the crossbow and Greek fire, as well as innovations in agriculture, navigation, and architecture. The influence of Islamic art and architecture on European styles was particularly prominent, giving birth to the distinct Gothic style that would come to define the Middle Ages. Turning to the economic sphere, the Crusades played a significant role in reshaping trade routes and economic powerhouses. The need to supply the Crusaders with food, weapons, and other necessities led to the establishment of new maritime routes and the growth of port cities. Venice, for instance, capitalized on the Crusades to establish itself as a dominant force in the Mediterranean trade. However, the economic impact of the Crusades was not all positive. The campaigns brought significant financial burdens on the monarchs and nobles who funded them. Many had to levy heavy taxes or even sell off their lands to finance their crusading ventures. The financial strain of the Crusades also led to the development of banking systems and the rise of powerful financial institutions like the Knights Templar. But it's important to remember that the Crusades were not just about the exchange of goods and ideas. They also brought about a cultural exchange that would shape societies for centuries to come. The interaction between Christian and Muslim cultures during the Crusades led to a deeper understanding and appreciation of each other's traditions, arts, and sciences. Despite the conflict, there was a degree of mutual respect and curiosity that paved the way for a rich cultural fusion. In conclusion, the Crusades were a turning point in history, influencing the course of societies and economies in ways that continue to echo through the ages. They were not just a series of religious wars, but a catalyst for change, sparking advancements in various fields and leaving a lasting legacy. The Crusades left an indelible imprint on the world, culturally and economically. The echoes of the Crusades still resonate today. As we've journeyed through the tumultuous history of these religious wars, we've seen their profound impacts on society, culture, and economics. But what of their long-lasting effects on Christian-Muslim relations? And how have the Crusades shaped modern politics? The Crusades left a deep imprint on the relationship between the Christian and Muslim worlds. The centuries of conflict saw the development of deep-seated animosities and stereotypes. Christians viewed Muslims as infidels, while Muslims saw the Crusaders as invaders and plunderers. This mutual distrust and hostility, unfortunately, did not end with the fall of the last Crusader stronghold. Instead, it persisted, feeding into a cycle of misunderstanding and conflict that still exists in some quarters today. This legacy of animosity was not confined to interpersonal relations, it permeated the political sphere as well. The Crusades were, in essence, an assertion of religious and geopolitical power, a concept that resonates in modern international relations. The call to reclaim the Holy Land, for instance, has been echoed in various forms in contemporary political rhetoric, demonstrating the enduring significance of these historical events. Moreover, the Crusades have shaped the very way we perceive and interpret history. Over the centuries, they've been romanticized, demonized, and politicized. They've been used to justify wars and condemn religious intolerance. They've been invoked to rally support and to stoke fear. They've become a symbol, a metaphor, a cautionary tale. However, it's important to remember that the legacy of the Crusades is not just about conflict and division. It's also about interaction and exchange, about the flow of ideas, technologies, and cultures. It's about the creation of new economic systems and the shaping of our modern world. The Crusades' legacy is complex, a testament to the multifaceted nature of history. It's a narrative woven with threads of conflict and cooperation, of power and faith, of loss and gain. It serves as a reminder of the profound ways in which the past continues to shape the present and the future. The Crusades, a series of holy wars, were far more than just battles. They were a complex tapestry of political, social, and religious motivations and outcomes. We've journeyed through the rise of the Seljuk Turks and the desperate plea of the Byzantine Emperor, the fervor of the First Crusade, and the complexities of the subsequent holy wars. We've ventured into less trodden narratives like the Northern Crusades and the Children's Crusade, and examined the far-reaching cultural and economic impacts that still resonate today. The legacy of these holy wars is multifaceted, shaping Christian-Muslim relations and informing historical interpretations for centuries. The Crusades were not just a series of battles, but a turning point in human history, a period of profound change and enduring consequences. Remember, history is not just about the past, it shapes our present and future. So keep exploring, keep questioning, and most importantly, keep learning.